Hi everyone, I'm back with another video. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my favorite TV shows and what my favorite episodes were for each one. So first we have Bear in the Big Blue House. This show was one of my favorites as a kid. It taught kids valuable tools for growth, and my favorite episode of Bear in the Big Blue House was Lost Thing, which is the one where Ojo lost Snow Bear, and at the end of the episode, she does end up finding Snow Bear. Probably should have said he though, since it's a boy, but yeah. Next we have Handy Manny. Now, my favorite episode of Handy Manny was the one where we faced the garage door. I don't exactly remember what the episode was called, and I don't exactly know what the show was about, basically. Next we have the Koala Brothers, and I don't really have a favorite episode of the Koala Brothers, to be honest. But it was about two koalas named Frank and Buster who basically helped anyone that needed help. Next, we got PB&J Otter, and I used to watch this one before going to school. I didn't really have a favorite episode of this show. It's basically about three Otter siblings and their adventures. Next, we got Roly Poly Oly, and I didn't really have a favorite episode of the show either. I actually had multiple episodes that I liked of the show. I don't exactly know what it was about. Now we have Out of the Box, and in this one, it was basically about a group of kids that did stuff in a clubhouse they made out of boxes. And the clubhouse they made out of boxes didn't look very big, but when you go into the clubhouse, you can kind of see that it's bigger on the inside. Little Doctor Who reference there. If you guys ever saw Doctor Who, you know what I mean by that. Next we have Johnny and the Sprites, and I liked the music in Johnny and the Sprites. Pretty good show, pretty good music. Another show that had good music in it was The Wiggles, and I used to watch Wiggles for going to school as well. And my favorite song from The Wiggles is Hot Potato. I also liked our songs like Fruit Salad, and then there was this one with Captain Beresford, who was one of my favorite characters. Next we got Hueytown Heroes. Now, Hueytown Heroes was basically about this group of 4 kids and a squirrel, for some weird reason, that learned about everyday heroes. And I can't remember if there was an episode with a veterinarian in it, but if there was an episode with a veterinarian in it, I probably would like that episode. That one would probably be my favorite out of all of them. Next we got Doobops. Now this one has some good music in it, but I didn't really have a favorite episode of Doobops. Next up we have Little Einsteins. And this show was okay for the most part. However, I didn't really have a favorite episode of Little Einsteins because after a while, the show got kind of annoying for me. And I'm not sure why. It just got annoying. Why is it kindergarten kids teaching preschoolers about stuff they probably won't learn until high school? That just drew the line for me right there. Next we got Charlie and Lola, and my favorite one was the one where they're playing this game. I think it was called Snakes and Ladders or something like that, which is kind of like Shoots and Ladders. You guys ever played that game? You know how fun it is. And there used to be this game on this one website that I used to play, which was a storybook that kind of went with the show, kind of. Next, we got Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and this was one of my favorite shows when I was a kid. And my favorite episode was when they all had hiccups, and they had to find different ways to get rid of their hiccups. There's one way to get rid of hiccups. You drink water, you don't try to scare hiccups out of you. There's multiple ways to get rid of hiccups. But whenever I have hiccups, I just drink water. That always works for me. Next, we got My Friends Tigger and Pooh, and this one was basically about a young girl who became friends with Tigger and Winnie the Pooh, and they have all these adventures. My favorite episode of that show was The Incredible Shrinking Roo, where they had to figure out if Roo was actually shrinking or if the flower they were using to measure how taller it was, like every spring or in fall was growing. Next we have the Lion Guard, and there's 3 seasons of the show, and I loved Lion Guard. I didn't really have a favorite episode except for one where we're hanging a Scarback. That was kind of cool, but kind of creepy at the same time. Next we got Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana was one of my favorite shows on Disney Channel. And my favorite episode was the one where she comes up with the bone dance to study for this like biology test that she has to take. And some parts in that episode were really funny. And my boyfriend actually did a story about that on that episode. And I think he did a really good job on it. Next we got the Muppet Show. And my favorite episodes of the Muppet Show was ones where they had like running gags. And my favorite running gag was the mechanical one, the TV show host one. So the storyline for that one is that Scooter walks in with a crate, and Kermit asks him what's in the crate, and when Scooter tells him the mechanical one, the TV show host, it was crate. And then the mechanical one, TV show host looks a lot like Kermit, like exactly like Kermit, except with a crank in his back. And when he tells Scooter he had time in mind, the one of the mechanical teacher is like, be careful, Frog, it's not going to see there. And then he proceeds to push Kermit into the crate and closes it. And then there were some other parts in there that I thought was pretty funny. Like when the mechanical teacher was doing anything Kermit was doing. And then when he was on to Miss Piggy, when she was pretty sure she just saw Kermit out there. She didn't realize it was the mechanical teacher host at first. And I don't know if she ever found out it was something on my TV host or what, but yeah. Next we got Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And my favorite part of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was the neighborhood make-believe. And I love that part of the episodes. I liked every single Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood episodes. So, because he talked about things in a way that I can understand. Next we got Sesame Street. And I think Sesame Street when I was like really young, and that basically helped me learn. It was educational. And next to our shows that got me into reading, and they helped me sound out words when I was young. I used to read a lot when I was a kid. So we have Reading Rainbow, which got me into reading, and then we have Between the Lions, which helped me sound out words. So I liked both of those shows. Next we got Barney and Friends. Now, I seen Barney when I was like really young, and my mom used to sing the ending song for that episode all the time. The ending song of the show all the time. But yeah, it was like Friends doing like things. So yeah. And this next one I actually watched in school. Bill Nye the Science Guy. And when we were learning about something that was in Bill Nye the Science Guy in school, teacher would find Bill Nye the Science Guy, and we would watch the episode. So that was a fun thing. Next we got the Magic School Bus, and that was another one that we also watched in school. Science class. So I think this was back in like elementary school when I saw Magic School Bus. And funny story, whenever we were touring over the summer at the library in Cranberry Township, I would go into the kids area of the library in the municipal building and play Magic School Bus games on the computer until whenever was done with his touring session. So yeah. Next we have Arthur, and I had Arthur computer game. It was called Arthur's Frozen Rescue. Played that a lot when I was a kid. I don't know what Arthur was about, but I think it was like these 3 kids, and I don't know what they were doing for some reason. Next we have Caillou. Now I liked Caillou, but I don't really have an episode of Caillou. I kind of miss like the old like Caillou episodes, like when they would have like little segments in between episodes with Rex, which is Caillou's toy dinosaur, Teddy, which is his teddy bear, and Gilbert, who was the cat. I miss that, and I wish they would bring that back because those were good. They don't make features like they used to anymore, though. Of course, there's nothing going on TV anymore these days. Next, we got Zoom. And I remember one specific episode of Zoom. I was watching the show, And in the theme song, they said, if you like what you turn off your TV and do it. And one day my mom asked me if I liked what I saw on TV. I was like, yeah. And she turned the TV off. I was like, Mom, why'd you do that? And she told me, well, you know what's in the theme song? Like, you see, turn off your TV and do it. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, like, after the episode ends. I was not happy that day. Like she turned off the TV when I was watching my show, and I did not like that. I was mad at her for doing that. So yeah, let's and then there was an episode that was how kids deal with like 9/11, just 10 days after 9/11. Like after the 9/11 attacks happened, 10 days later, episode Zoom comes on, and it's supposed to help kids deal with that. I bet a lot of kids were so traumatized from 9/11, but I was in preschool when that happened. Okay, like I had no idea what happened. I was too young to understand it. But yeah. Next we got Spoonful, and I loved Spoonful when I was a kid. I loved Spoonful. My favorite episode was the one with horses, and I love horses. I've been around horses since I was 2 years old, and I guess that's pretty young. But yeah, I love horses. I have a lot of horse themed stuff. And I don't know if you guys can see my shirt here. Mustang shirt. But yeah, I love horses. I have a lot of horse themed stuff. And I've been collecting a lot of horse themed stuff lately. Along with some other stuff that I'm obsessed with. Next we got Wildcrafts. And I think my favorite Wildcrafts episode was one where they had like a wolf in there or something like that. And then of course the anime versions of Crackers too. Like they talk about the animals a little bit, and then they go into the actual episode, and then they go back into like talking about the animal that was in the episode that was there. So yeah. Next we have Clifford the Big Red Dog, and I loved Clifford when I was a kid. I didn't really have a favorite episode of Clifford, but the new Clifford I did not like. I don't know why, but it looks like a kid just took a coloring page of Clifford and colored it with like a crayon or something. And they didn't have like the same characters like T-Bone, Cleo, Mac. They didn't have like the same characters. It was just Elizabeth and her dog Clifford. Along with some new characters, which I did not like. Okay, I like the older Clifford. And I read a lot of Clifford books when I was a kid as well, because I love Clifford. And I once had something animal Clifford, which was kind of nice. Although I got rid of it because I have no stuffed animals it is already. So yeah, there was that. And then there was a Clifford the Big Dog movie, which I love, and I actually got on DVD, which is nice. Next we have Go Diego Go. This was my favorite show on the Junior. I loved Go Diego Go. It's basically about this kid named Diego, and he saves animals that are in trouble. I think my favorite episode, and one I remember very well, was the one where he saved a baby sloth and his mother. Because I think the mother was headed towards a tree or something like that, and they had to get out of the tree. I don't know how he got the murder or stuff out of the tree, because they went out before that, so yeah. Next we have Legends of the Hidden Temple, and this one was on Nick Gas, which basically stood for Nickelodeon in games and sports for kids. Not only did I watch Legends of the Hidden Temple on that TV station, though, I also saw Guts on that TV station. And I didn't really watch any of the other programs that were on there at the time, because one of them looked kind of scary for me, and the other one was just, some other ones I didn't really like. Another show I saw was Get the Picture, and that was one of my favorites, but Legends of the Temple was an all-time favorite. I didn't really have a favorite episode of that one either, just because it was a game show, and I don't usually have favorite episodes of game shows unless I come across something that I like. Next we have Drake and Josh, and my favorite episode of Drake and Josh is when they're stuck in this treehouse they're making for this one kid, because apparently they accidentally blew the kid's treehouse up and they had to rebuild it, and they both got stuck. So when they're in the treehouse, Josh is supposed to go downstairs to get something, and he's like, Drake, and Drake's like, what? And then Josh is like, where's the door hole? And then Drake is like, it's right there, so you do with the magic marker. And then Josh is like, you're supposed to cut out the power saw. And Drake's like, well, I'm gonna. And Josh is like, oh, really? And then Drake's like, yeah. And then Josh is like, let's go get the power saw. And Drake's like, okay, I will. But then he finally realizes they're stuck in the treehouse after walking into the wall. Which I thought was funny. And he's like, I see the problem. And Josh's like, oh, do ya? And then Drake's like, how are you out of here? And of course, their sister Megan's always, getting them in trouble. As usual. Next we have iCarly, and I didn't really have a favorite episode of iCarly. I liked all of the episodes. Except for the I Psycho episode. That episode was kind of crazy, and I didn't like it. I liked every single episode, but just not that specific one. And then there was a sequel to that one called I Still Psycho, which I did not see for some reason. Next we got Victorious, and this one, my favorite episode of Victorious would have to be the one where it's like the Breakfast Club. And you guys never saw Breakfast Club? If you're over 18, I would suggest watch it. And that way you could see some of the similarities between that episode and the movie. And the episode was actually called The Breakfast Bunch, which I thought was kind of cool. And I didn't realize it was loosely based off the rated R movie, The Breakfast Bunch, or whatever it was called. Breakfast Club, whatever it was called. So yeah, that was my favorite episode of Victorious. Next we got Power Rangers. And let me tell you guys, I was obsessed with Power Rangers as a kid. I love Power Rangers. And my favorite Power Rangers were the Red Ranger, the Pink Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, and the Black Ranger. And I still have my pink, red, and black Power Ranger shirts. I don't have the yellow one anymore because I grew that one. And I got those shirts at Hot Topic, which I thought was pretty cool because I usually go to Hot Topic a lot. And I'm always looking for a shirt there. Being like Power Rangers or My Little Pony or like a Linkin Park shirt that I like or whatever. I like if I should just get, if I have money, that is. My favorite season would have to be the original season, like the original Rangers. Like the very first team, Mighty Morphin. That was my favorite season up till like Down Thunder. And the reason why I liked Down Thunder was because they brought Tommy Oliver back, but this time as a mentor and Black Dino Ranger, which I thought was awesome. Tommy was not really one of my favorite characters in Power Rangers, to be honest. Because I didn't like him as Evil Green Ranger, but after he turned good, I was like, okay, yeah, I can deal with a good Ranger, not an evil one. I don't like evil Rangers for some reason. But yeah, Tommy Oliver was also Power Ranger. So, yeah, and then from Down Thunder up to like Cosmic Fury, my favorite out of that one was Samurai, because I actually had a crush on the guy who played as Jaden in Power Rangers Samurai. Thought he was pretty hot. He's good looking. Next you got the Saddle Club. And this one was basically about 3 girls and their Rangers at Pine Hollow Stables, which is where the Saddle Club took place. I've seen every single episode of the Saddle Club. I don't really have a favorite episode. So, yeah, but I think my favorite one would have to be one where Prancer kills a snake after one of the Saddle Club girls gets bit by it. And I don't like snakes, okay? I can't even look at them. I cannot look at them. I can't even touch them. I don't even want to get near them. I can't do any of those things without getting too scared. I can't even be in the same area with snakes. I can't watch videos with snakes unless they are there. But if something comes on the screen, I'm like, nope. Like, get it off the screen. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see a snake. I don't want to touch one. I don't want to be near one. Okay. A lot of people might say, hey, you should only be scared of the venomous ones. Yeah, I am not doing that. I'm sorry, but I'm scared of all snakes. Even if they're not venomous, like, I do not like snakes. These scare me way too much. Okay? And I thought about doing biology club in high school, but I knew at one meeting they were going to talk about snakes, and I didn't want to be there for that meeting. So I decided I'm not going to do it. Because there was no way I was going to talk about a snake or even look at one. I'm sorry, but I cannot be around a snake. I just can't. Next, we got Looney Tunes. And Looney Tunes was one that I used to watch with my family every Saturday morning. Like, every Saturday morning, I would get up and go into the living room to watch Looney Tunes with my dad. And we would always watch, my whole family would watch Looney Tunes Saturday morning. And my favorite Looney Tunes are basically the ones with, like, Coyote and Rover. Those are my favorites. And every time something happens to the Coyote, we're all like, oh no! And then whatever happens to the Coyote, basically. Like, he always gets these ideas to catch Rover, and they all backfire. So we were like, oh no, the Coyote blew up, or oh no, the Coyote fell, or, whatever. Where on the Coyote, we would just be like, oh no, and then what happened to him, we would say, what happened to him. So yeah. Next, we got Pokemon, and I am obsessed with Pokemon. I collect trading cards. I have 2 portfolios. One I haven't filled up yet. 2 tins. And I have a Pokemon water bottle that I don't really use that often. And I have a few stuffed animals. Most of them are Pikachu, because I love Pikachu. He's so adorable. I love Pikachu. He's my favorite out of all the Pokemon. However, there are 3 Pokemon I do not like, and that's Ekans, Arbok, and Seviper. I hate those 3 because they are snakes, and I don't like snakes. I can deal with animated snakes, but I don't like those 3 Pokemon because they're snakes. And if anyone makes, like, a push of one of those 3, I'm not buying it because I don't like snakes. I hate them. Like I said before, I don't want to be around snakes. I don't even want to touch them. So yeah, if anyone makes a push of, I guess, Arbok or Sniper, I'm not buying it because I don't want to have any snakes and making me nightmares. But yeah. That's one thing. I don't watch scary movies either because I don't want to get nightmares. Okay? Next we got Horseland. And this one, I don't exactly know what Horseland was about. But the episodes that I liked of Horseland was where either Sarah or Scarlet, Scarlet being the horse, saved their friends. And that was like one of my favorite shows. I would watch it every single weekend. Next we got Ninja Warrior, and I mean the Japanese one, not the American one. The American one didn't have as much enthusiasm as the Japanese one had. We watched Ninja Warrior on G4. That was a really good show, and Japanese announcers were like really enthusiastic and everything like that. And our favorite people on Ninja Warrior were Makoto Nagano and this one other guy. I think we called him Dr. Octopus or something like that, because we didn't know his real name, and he always had an octopus on the buzzer at the end of the course for him when he did the course. So yeah, Ninja Warrior was a really good show. I loved it. Next we got Cops. What got me into Cops was the theme song. The theme song was so catchy, and I used to watch Cops all the time. It was a really good show, and the theme song was actually what got me into the show. It wasn't what the Cops did, it was the theme song. I know it's kind of weird to like a show just based off the theme song, but that theme song is so catchy. And every time I video chat with my boyfriend, I always sing part of like the theme song that I know, that part that's like really catchy. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? That's like the only part of like the theme song that I can understand. The other parts I just cannot understand. Unless I play the full version, in which case I can understand a few of the parts. It's just one part in the song that I just cannot understand for some reason. I don't even know what they're saying in that part. So, yeah. Next we got Jang Has Wild Countdown. And I used to watch that, I think, Saturday morning, around 11 o'clock, I think, in the morning. But, yeah. One thing I liked about Jang Has Wild Countdown was the animals that he talked about, and you got to see like some animals, find out some stuff about animals that you know before, and it was actually pretty interesting. I love animals. However, whenever he had like snake or something, I did not want to listen to what he had to say about snakes because I don't like snakes. Okay, so a few honorable mentions here. So first, for our mentions, we have 24, and I only saw the first season of 24, and I think it's a pretty good show, just not one of my favorites. And I know some people are gonna hate me for this because you're a fan of 24. You might be like, "What's wrong with 24?" It's a really good show. Well, I'll admit it's a good show. It wasn't one of my favorites, and mostly because there's terrorists in that show, and I don't watch it when my dad's home, because when my dad's home, I don't watch that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I basically watch when my dad's not home, because I want to know when I'm watching that kind of stuff. It doesn't really give me nightmares or anything. It gives me some of these stories that I'm writing sometimes, and I need to start watching 24 again. Probably start from the beginning of the first season and go all the way up to, like, how many seasons there are. Because I'm beginning the second season of that show. So, my boyfriend watches that show a lot. He loves that show. And I get that's one of his favorites. But still, like, that show has terrorists in it, and my dad is a little overprotective. So, I decided to watch it when my dad's not home. So when I have the house myself, I basically watch that show. Another honorable mention is Doctor Who. And my boyfriend actually got me into that show with the Living Angels. So every time I boo chat with him and I want to like torture him, I always say this one line from the Blink episode, which basically goes, "Don't blink, don't even blink, blink and you're dead. They are fast, you can't blink. Don't turn your back, don't look away, and don't blink." And I say that every time I want to boo chat with just torture him because he does the same thing to me. He probably should have got me into the episode with Daleks, which are always like, exterminate. So, yeah, there's that. Guts is not honorable mention. I decided not to put Guts in this video because it's basically just another game show on the gas, which was fun to watch. I think there were like 3 kids, I believe, and then like one of them won or something. But yeah, there's that. Okay, so now we're at the final show of this video, and that is Animal Cops Houston. And I like Animal Cops Houston because in Animal Cops Houston, they got to save animals that were either abused or abandoned or something. And my favorite episodes of Animal Cops Houston were basically ones with cats, dogs, or horses. Okay. I think I remember like one specific Animal Cops episode where they were saving these horses, and this one horse was like really like wild or something like that. So yeah, those were some of my favorite TV shows as a kid. Now, most of these shows aren't on TV anymore, which is why I'm basically watching stuff on Disney Plus right now. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, leave a like. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.